On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to stop whatever you are doing, turn off the background noise, and listen to me with absolute unwavering focus, because last night, the great American illusion was finally shattered. Not by a special counsel, not by a political rival, but by a comedian armed with the one thing a con man fears most, the receipts. For over half a century, Donald Trump has bullied the world with the myth of his own unparalleled intellect. He has used the name of the Wharton School of Finance like a royal decree, demanding that we bow down to his super genius brain. Even now sitting back in the Oval Office as the 47th President of the United States, he continues to wield his supposed high IQ as a weapon, calling his critics stupid, low energy, and mentally unfit. He dared the world to question his brilliance, confident that his money and his lawyers had buried the truth forever. But last night on the stage of the Ed Sullivan Theater, Stephen Colbert didn't just question the myth, he detonated it. In a segment that took exactly 60 seconds from start to finish, Colbert unsealed the actual physical academic records from the University of Pennsylvania. Now, for the next 10 months, the gloves are off. I can finally speak unvarnished truth to power and say what I really think about Donald Trump starting right now. And the genius myth was ended on live television. The atmosphere was electric. The president, feeling particularly invincible after a week of chaotic executive orders, had spent the morning on social media bragging about his intellect. "No one has a brain like mine," he posted. "Wharton, top of the class, a true 180 IQ. The late-night losers could never understand my genius." He thought he was untouchable. He thought the bully pulpit protected him from the facts. To prove his dominance, he even had his press office arrange a live phone call into the Late Show, fully intending to berate Stephen Colbert on his own turf. Trump's voice boomed through the studio speakers, dripping with that familiar defensive arrogance. "I'm the smartest guy to ever sit in this office, Stephen," Trump bragged, the audience listening in stunned silence. "I aced everything. Wharton, the hardest school in the world. I was the best they ever saw. You people just read jokes off a prompter. I have a brain that writes history." He thought he was winning. He thought he was the alpha in the room. But Stephen Colbert wasn't laughing. He didn't do a monologue about the news of the day. He didn't dance with the band. He strode directly to his desk, his features set in a grim mask of prosecutorial determination. He looked directly at the camera, and the studio audience immediately fell silent. They knew something big was about to go down. "Mr. President," Colbert said, his voice without its usual lilt of comedy, cutting through all the bragging like a scythe. "You talked a lot about your grades. You tell the American people you were the smartest man to ever walk through the doors of the Wharton School. But this morning, Donald Trump had an answer for all of that too. I think it's fake news, but if he did that, I guess we'll have to compare IQ tests, and I can tell you who's gonna win. Tillerson scored a 120. It's above average. It's not genius, but it's pretty good. You have spent millions of dollars keeping your grades hidden, threatening to sue any school that dared to release them." He paused, reaching into his jacket pocket. "But the problem with secrets, Mr. President, is they have an expiration date. And today, thanks to an anonymous archivist who believes the American people deserve the truth, your secret just expired." The silence on the phone line was instantaneous. The bragging stopped. You could almost hear the panic building in Washington. That's private property," Trump stammered, his voice jumping an octave, all bravado gone. "It's a fake document. It's illegal. Don't you open that, Colbert. I'll have the FCC shut you down." He was shouting. He pulled out a sealed manila envelope with the faded official crest of the University of Pennsylvania stamped on it. The collective gasp of the audience sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Colbert did not hesitate. He looked up at the studio clock, and it began a massive 60-second countdown on the screen behind him. 1 minute. That's all it takes to dismantle a 50-year lie. He ripped it open. The sound of tearing paper echoed through all the microphones like a gunshot. He pulled out the yellowed carbon copy transcript of 1968. He put on his reading glasses and scanned it before holding it up to the camera. The 4K resolution picked up every single faded typewriter keystroke. Let's look at the super genius record. He said it with ringing authority. Donald J. Trump, Wharton School, undergraduate. He scanned it some more before continuing. Let's look at the core classes. Microeconomics, C-. Business law, statistics. He paused, letting the silence hang in the air, letting the president have to listen to his own failures. Statistics. Failed. The audience was in shocked murmurs. The man who claims to know more about global economies than anyone else failed. Failed basic statistics. But Colbert was not done yet. The clock was at 30 seconds. You weren't even the top of your class. Donald Colbert continued to turn the page and read directly from the dean's notes at the bottom. According to this, you did not even make the dean's list. You graduated without honors. In fact, the academic advisor's note right here states, student demonstrates a profound lack of intellectual curiosity, difficulties with basic comprehension, and relies solely on family influence as opposed to academic rigor. Colbert looked up, his eyes piercing through the lens, speaking directly to the man sitting in the White House. You did not earn a degree, sir. Your father bought you a piece of paper. You are not a genius. You are a C student with a rich daddy and a loud mouth. And you have spent your entire life terrified that someone would finally figure out that you are intellectually empty. 15 seconds left on the clock. You are a liar. Trump shrieked over the phone, his voice cracking into a desperate wail. I was the best. This is a witch hunt. Hang up the phone. Hang it up. The line went dead. The President of the United States had fled from a piece of paper. 0 seconds, Colbert said as the buzzer sounded quietly in the background. He removed his glasses and plunked the transcript down on his desk with a resounding thud. Time's up, Donald. The illusion is over. You can bully the press, and you can buy the politicians, but you can't change the grade. You are exactly who we always knew you were. For the generation watching at home, the generation that values hard work, that values real education, and that knows you can't fake competence when the chips are down. This was the ultimate vindication. Donald Trump built a golden tower on a foundation of academic sand. He tried to sell the world a myth of intellectual supremacy, and Stephen Colbert brought the receipts. In 60 seconds flat, the biggest ego in Washington was reduced to a failing grade on a dusty old piece of paper. He ran away from the clock. He ran away from the document. And he ran away from the truth. The emperor doesn't have any clothes. And as it turns out, he doesn't have any grades either. Shame on the fraud. And thank God the file is finally closed.